Greetings, my fellow Americans, Michiganders, those in Jackson, Lansing, Grand Rapids, and Detroit. Thank you for tuning in to ACVN, the American Conservative Values Network, dedicated and committed to those precepts and principles that have made this nation great. The Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and the Emancipation Proclamation. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to tune in to this discussion, dialogue. Sometimes it is a trialogue. We are engaging in issues that we feel are relevant and pertinent to us all. Today I have with me my very distinguished guest and friend, Dr. Lamont McNeese, Doctor of Divinity, and of course publisher of the Jesus Christ Ministries, and he's doing an outstanding job in preserving and archiving the teachings of Christianity, which are the bedrock of our nation's origin. Thank you, Dr. McNeese, for coming in and being with us today.
Delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm sorry to bother you with these subjects that are not near and dear to you in particular. We're not talking theology today. We're talking about theology and or theology's application to politics. Mm-hmm. We're interested in dealing with the issue of politics today. We have a presidential election coming up soon. Dr. Cornel West, the Dr. Cornel West, one of the Harvard and Princeton geniuses and scholars from the left and the liberals, along with Tavis Mowley, are criticizing Barack Obama all over the country. They feel that Barack Obama has kowtowed to the establishment, the Trilateral Commission, the Council of Foreign Relations, those particular persons who are the globalists. And again, I don't have a problem with Barack Obama myself working with globalists, working with multinationals and internationalists, working with the Commission, the Council of Foreign Relations. I think that it is obvious that you have to have the Council of Foreign Relations that controls, to some degree, all of the port authorities across the continent of the United States and throughout the world. You have to have controls on the ports. Commerce is coming to and from on the ports through shipping and shipping channels. You have to have the commission that is looking at strategizing the economy and the central banking systems and sovereign debt to find ways to make sure that they're amalgamating the G8, the top 8 nations that control 94% of the GDP in the world, and the G20, the top 20 nations that control almost 100% of the gross domestic product in the world. So I don't have a problem with them, but Cornel West is very angry that the Obama administration has paid no attention to poor people, has done nothing for the less advantaged and the disadvantaged, inasmuch as the Obama administration has promised to do so. He has kowtowed to the gay and lesbian groups. He has kowtowed to other groups, even to some degree unions. But he most certainly has done nothing for the poor people. And Dr. West would argue unequivocally that he's not done anything for the trade unions, because Dr. West feels that he speaks for the trade unions. What have you seen that Barack Obama has done for African Americans, poor people in America? Can you cite any specific thing he's done other than giving us extension on the welfare checks?
Well, like you, I don't have a problem with Barack Obama either.
I didn't say that. I said I don't have a problem with working with the globalists. Go ahead.
But I think that Barack, and when we get him into a second term, we'll get some of those things.
That won't happen.
We'll get some of those things done. But I think that Barack Obama has every intention and is working hard to help those people in those communities, African Americans. Barack Obama represents Americans.
You think?
Yes, you can, whatever classes of them that there might be. You can say gay and lesbians, you can say whomever, but Barack Obama represents Americans. And I think that anybody who is honest, who would be honest, would say that he's doing, in the 4 years that he's been in, or in the time he's been in, he's doing his best, or it appears to be doing his best, to support Americans unilaterally, and not just to kowtow to any particular group, but kowtow.
Well, others would argue, they would say the scandal with Solyndra, and him constantly sending taxpayers' money to Solyndra would show that he is trying to kowtow to the environmentalists, because Salinger was supposed to be some environmental phenomenon in which they were trying to do green development of different sort of products that they were going to be manufacturing. There are other things that he has done since he's been in office. He pushed a health care bill that, even though he didn't draw up the legislation, he signed it, and that has caused health care to increase between 7 and 9% annually, promising to lower rates. Higher rates have come forth out of that. Businesses are saying universally across the board they can't afford to hire new people, hence job creation has been stunted because they do not know the cost of health care keeps rising. It is causing them not to be able to leave, in fact, capital on the table and invest it appropriately in healthcare plans that are going to bring down the cost of doing business. Third thing, taxes, because his tax policy seems to always be to tax the rich or tax the job creators. There's this argument that the job creators, corporate America, are moving money overseas. And some feel that Barack Obama is a part of that conspiracy of the globalists to take jobs from America and put them overseas in India and China, because labor is cheaper there. We all know labor is cheaper in China, labor is cheaper in America, and consequently the bottom line is, because labor is cheaper, your multinationals and your global corporations are trying to do more business in the third world countries that are up and coming and going through their industrial revolution and technological revolution at the same time.
But when you say the conspiracy, you know, and you speak well, but you know, when we talk about Barack, and when I hear conservatives speak, and you use these terms like the conspiracy, what conspiracy? You know,
well,
is there really a conspiracy? Or
maybe we should change the semantics and use the term the strategy. Maybe we should use the strategy, because whether it is a conspiracy, whether they're working in collaboration together, undercover, saying one thing and doing something different, or whether they're just saying what they're doing and saying this is our strategy. We feel that we can grow our corporation overseas faster and bring jobs back to America, because that's what some are saying. Some are saying, no, we're not trying to export jobs to China, to India, to Asia, but what we're trying to do is grow our footprint in these particular countries and expand into markets that probably have the potential of growth that is 3 to 4 to 5 times that of America. And hence we will be able to bring jobs back to America so that we can do production and export over to these countries. Now, they are saying that. The point is, there's 14.5 million people who are unemployed as we speak. There's still an 8.8 to 9.2 unemployment rate out there, and jobs were promised. Should politicians be held to their commitments? If they say they're going to do something, should they do it? Or should we constantly make excuses for them and say they're doing the best they can?
I think they certainly should do what they promised to do.
You do?
I think, yes, sir, and I certainly think that people on both sides of the aisle should be supporting them in doing what they do and not trying to shoot down and cut down everything. You know, some people on some sides of the aisle are voting down things I think that Barack that they once supported. So now I think certainly politicians should be held responsible and accountable for their promises, but they should also be supported. A conspiracy by any other name is just as crooked. So you can't, you know, you can change the word from conspiracy, but has anyone shown that Barack Obama is strategically and conspiring against America and against the poor? The man is doing what conservatives and Republicans won't block him from doing. He's doing his best, and he's going to do the rest once we get him in the next term.
Well, we're not going to get him in the second term. All of the polls show that whether he runs against Mitt Romney or whether he runs against Newt Gingrich. Now, obviously, I think he would beat Herman Cain at this point. Herman Cain has his cadre of problems, and I was with Herman Cain when he made his announcement in Detroit. 909, 9% taxes on corporate, 9% sales tax, and 0 taxes on those persons who make under a certain amount of income annually. So I have no problem with all of that. I went down because I was asked to come down and stand. I have no qualms with Mr. Herman Cain. He's a very distinguished gentleman. He's I think an assistant pastor in the Baptist Church, a man of great dignity, respect, integrity, and credibility, despite the fact that those accusers have come forward to accuse him of sexual harassment. I do believe that Barack Obama is a one-term president. There has never been a person in the White House in the history of our democracy that has had as many negatives as he has and has been reelected. So if this happens, certainly it will be the first time in the history of our democracy. But I will say, back to Herman Cain, I think with respect to Herman Cain's disposition and the sexual harassment charges, and let's go into this discussion now. With the sexual harassment charges on Herman Cain, I think, as I talked to one of his advisors and advised them that what Herman Cain probably should have done, and maybe he's already done it, is after this discussion had gone on and the bickering had gone back and forth, the accusations were made, and he, of course, responded, that the wise thing would have been for Karl Rove to put a phone call in to him, or him to call Karl Rove and ask Rove exactly what his thoughts were. And to say this, sexual harassment, by and large, is the interpretation of the victim, of the alleged victim. And hence, because sexual harassment is left up to the interpretation of the alleged victim, I had no intention nor motivation to sexually harass anyone. However, I have no control over, in fact, what people's interpretations are of my actions, especially when I don't recall putting my hands on anyone or making any unruly or inappropriate statements. But if I did, I'm sorry to anyone. And where these accusations are coming from after 12 to 15 years, I don't know. Certainly if these charges had been found to be based on something, the appropriate actions would have been taken and this would have been resolved. I categorically deny these charges. However, I do not want to mitigate the significance of a person feeling that they have been sexually harassed. Simply want to make it clear that's not my intention and that was not my motivation. How say you? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think I have a little problem with the language, I don't know where they're coming from. I think Mr. Cain, you know...
Well, the four women already came forward. Right. But again, I don't know where they're coming from. My suggestion, those are my words, because I would say that based on the fact that if the woman who claims that he groped her underwear and snatched her underwear off in the middle of a lobby where other people, if he was the head of the restaurant association as well as other corporate entities at that time, she could have gotten paid, couldn't she?
Yes, she could have.
And probably would have gotten paid, wouldn't she?
Remember now, Herman Cain wasn't walking in Walmart and some anonymous woman said he did this. This was a person he was familiar with, a friend of perhaps, acquainted with. And they had some type of relationship. I don't know if it's
allegedly.
Allegedly. When I say relationship, I mean just they were acquainted. They were friends, or they weren't strangers. So now I don't want to.
Well, she's saying that she was there for the conference, but that she met him.
But she didn't know Herman Cain at all.
She's saying she met him at the conference, knew that he was the CEO of the Restaurant Association, and in fact. That he made some arrangements, as you're alluding to have her hotel upgraded. Now, right. I haven't heard anything about that since that time. I guess my only thought is that Herman Cain's response should have been to be sensitive to sexual harassment, but if he is saying that he had no intention or motivation to do the same, then he should state that. But that's never been my motivation. That's never been my intention. It may have been an interpretation and a misinterpretation of my actions. I apologize universally and unequivocally across the board to anyone that may have misunderstood anything I've done, but that's never been my intention. I'm simply trying to get your feedback on, do you think he should have said that? Do you think he did say that? Or what do you think he said? What do you think he should have said?
Well, I don't want to agree with any conservatives, but I can't argue that. I think
I am a conservative.
I think you are correct when you are correct.
Let the television note that.
I would say that you're correct. I just think that the missing element is that Mr. Cain should not try to act like this woman's a total stranger. I mean, I don't touch anybody that I just met. So I don't touch any women. I'm married.
You're saying you don't sexually harass anyone, is what you're saying.
Right. I don't sexually harass anyone. And let me just say for the record,
or otherwise,
but let me just say for the record, I personally don't believe Mr. Kane did so either.
Yes.
Well, to be honest,
yes.
I just don't believe the circumstances.
Now, since we're having this discussion, though, the woman that came forth that works for the Inspector General and the Internal Revenue Service, who states that she filed charges against him when he was, in fact, the CEO of one of the major corporations. She seemed to carry a bit of credibility. However, they investigated her charges and found them to be baseless. Again, doesn't that speak to that maybe her interpretation? See, again, sexual harassment, to me, my understanding of it, even though it's defined in the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's language of sexual harassment for the federal government, I still say sexual harassment is up to the interpretation of the alleged victim. A person may feel that, hey, your hair looks beautiful today. Oh, your eyes are gorgeous. Your skin is magnificent. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say I don't say that. I'm not going to say I do say that. I'm going to say a person may interpret that as unwanted, aggressive, sexual, social in communication.
Listen,
wouldn't you agree?
You know, I agree, but you know, and I know, to reluctantly add to the truth of what you're saying, you know, and I know that if I'm the head of a large corporation, or anybody, and someone brings some type of charge like this or insinuation, I just really want that, whether it's true or false, I want that just to go away.
You want to go away.
And you know, whatever I do to make that go away, especially if it's false. Let's just say if it's false. I want that to just go away. I don't. This is a non-issue, but you know, and I know that the public, if any allegation is made, the public's going to run with that allegation, no matter what. If you say anything sexual to any successful man, I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about any successful man. The public's going to run with it.
When you say sexual, you're talking about if you say you make accusations against
any accusation against anyone, if it's of a sexual nature, it's going to raise antennas, and people are going to automatically assume that the person did it. And the next response is, if he didn't do it, he did something.
Yes. Neither
of which is necessarily true. You know, because you can say anything you want, and the media will pick it up. The newspaper will print it. That somebody else said it, and then they'll correct it in a small column way in the back of the paper. So I don't doubt that some agreement was signed, some settlement was made, but to me that doesn't prove anything except that there was a settlement made, you know.
Yes, and of course they say that the only settlement was to give them severance pay and allow them to leave. Now, I don't know, I didn't see the documentation. I do have access to some of that information because of my association with members of the Kane campaign. And we're here, as you just stated, to defend, in fact, Herman Cain's right to being innocent until proven guilty, to the fact that it was found that some of the charges when he was the head of one of the corporations were found to be baseless. But at the same time, it obviously has had an effect on his campaign. He was tied with Mitt Romney. He was leading in the polls in New Hampshire and Iowa. And now he's fallen to third and as close to fourth place, tied with fourth place. Tied with Rick Perry, the person that he originally thought was allegedly involved in expelling the charges or revealing these charges initially when they came out, because the charges were with a group called a Politico, and then those individuals who were emissaries of Politico moved from Politico to the Perry campaign, regardless of whether or not they did. That's politics, would not you say? Isn't that the way politics works?
That's how politics works, and it didn't do him any good anyway, because that just leaves you with Mr. Newt, and that's why we're going to re-elect Barack Obama.
Well, why don't you think, you even admitted in a private conversation, you probably don't want me to reveal on television, that Newt is a brilliant individual, and you know Newt was a part of the Clinton era when he and Bill Clinton worked together to balance the budget and to put us in the most prosperous 10-year segment of the economy in the history of our democracy. The years in which Reagan prepared, and by laying the foundation through tax cuts, Clinton was elected and put some new tax increases in there, yet that was probably the most prosperous 10 years according to economic records in this country that we have enjoyed as a nation. Newt was a part of the contract with America. Newt was instrumental in passing 7 of the 10 commandments of the contract with America. Newt was a part of the leadership that balanced the budget in this country. Newt was a part of the leadership that created more jobs than we have seen in history. Newt Gingrich speaks the language I think is a little bit too intelligent for the average person. Is that what you're saying?
I think you don't have to argue with me. Mr. Newt is extremely intelligent. But I think...
Brilliant, as you please. Brilliant. Listen to me out there so you can run to the polls.
And if Mr. Gingrich had been elected rather than Barack Obama, and if he had been a Democrat, conservatives would be saying the same things about him they're saying about Barack.
It's possible.
I would not
argue that we gave Bill Clinton a very difficult time. Bill Clinton was a genius. I hate to say this about the gentleman. To some extent, there was a narcissistic edge about him. But apart from his rendezvous with his personal narcissism, I think that Bill Clinton had a genuine compassion and passion for people. He had a genuine charisma, as Barack Obama has. When it came to his likableness, I thought he, as a Rhodes Scholar, he had background in, he had an education and academic background and training that prepared him for the job. And in addition to that, he had been governor of Arkansas. So he had been the CEO of a microcosm of the country, which put him in a very advantageous position to make decisions and to maneuver through the structure of government that Barack Obama doesn't have. I think Barack Obama reads teleprompters well. I think he was a neophyte when he came in. He was a rookie. He had no experience whatsoever. He only had 160-something days in the Senate. It's impossible to say a person can run the largest democracy and most successful free market system in the world without experience. So I don't think that Barack Obama is going to see. And keep it in mind, I want to say this to our audience, black people did not put Barack Obama in office. White people did. There aren't enough black people in the 105 million people that voted for the president the last time. There aren't enough black people, certainly in this country, to do that. He did carry 95% of the African American vote. He carried close to 70+% of the Hispanic vote. He carried 21% of registered Republicans, minus myself, voted for him in that election. That's a 42% swing, excuse me.
Listen, God will forgive you for not voting for him, but
God has blessed me since I didn't vote for him. And I actually know him personally. I worked with him during the Bush years. I was assigned to the good senator while we had our socials at the White House by the president himself, who asked me to make sure that he was well taken care of. Hence, we've become acquaintances, but I cannot vote for his principles.
You don't want to make
I'm sorry, Reagan.
Now. Let me differ with you. Barack Obama was not put in office by white people. He was put in office by Americans.
I like that. I'll stand corrected.
Can you look me straight in the eye and say to me, or look straight into that camera and tell me that if someone else had been in office, the country would be miles and miles ahead or better than it is at this point?
You're talking about John McCain. If John McCain was elected, where would we be? Well, we wouldn't have Obamacare, which is killing jobs. That's one thing we wouldn't have.
But it's saving people's lives. It would save people's lives.
Well, but their lives would be saved anyway under Medicare and Medicaid. See, those programs, the people that come to the hospitals, the reason why the healthcare industry loves Obamacare in terms of hospitals is because now they can get paid by the federal government for things they could not initially get paid for. So yes, there are an additional 32 million plus people who are on the rolls of the government now as a result of Obamacare that are going to be covered, and the government's going to pay for them. But the question is, we have a $14 trillion deficit.
Would you have
We have a $14 trillion, excuse me, our national debt is at $14.2 trillion.
Would you have those people who are unable to get
$1 trillion deficit, I'm sorry,
who are unable to get health insurance to just die, as one of your conservative friends?
I think that people have a responsibility to take care of their health. I don't think health care is a privilege and a right. I think health care is something that should be available based on an individual's choice. I think it is a choice. I don't think the government has a right to force people into health care.
Wait a minute, you're conservative now. You all got a habit of telling people what they can do with their lives and their personal
And that's what we stand by. We stand on that.
Then the government, if you want to do that, then the government should also be trying to help them and save their lives.
But not as Obamacare does. Obamacare forces. It says that if you don't do this, we fine you, we penalize you. And in one piece of the legislation, it said we charge you with a misdemeanor. Well, now, how are you going to charge me with a misdemeanor if I don't want to buy health care? What kind of crazy stuff is that?
You're paying for them to go to the emergency room. You're paying anyway. Barack's
I would rather pay voluntarily with an advantage of being able to find a tax loophole to avoid that, as opposed to having the government come in and force me into these programs that expand the cost of government. It expands the cost of the private sector doing business, and it spreads this debt and this expense across all spectrums of society and kills jobs. It's a job killer.
Well, force is a strong word, and I know conservatives are good for sound bites and using words that just have impact.
We have empirical data.
But the fact is, we want
unequivocal
everyone to have. You were looking in the camera, by the way, and telling me that the country would be better off or with anybody but Barack Obama.
Well, I would look in the camera and tell you that the country would be better off under John McCain than Barack Obama, because John McCain would not have passed legislation with this albatross. And Barack Obama should not have pushed health care first. He should have pushed jobs first, and he would have been a shoo-in. Every African American I've spoken to said that if he had pushed jobs first and passed a jobs bill that cut taxes for small businesses, cut regulation, and increased the 80% of the job creators out there's ability to create jobs, he would have won by a landslide. The Republicans probably wouldn't have been able to put anybody up to run against him, period. Now almost all polls are showing Mitt Romney is beating Barack Obama. A Mormon is beating a Muslim. Excuse me, Christian Muslim? Is he Chrislam?
Barack Obama is
Christian and a Muslim mixed together?
Islam, and he's not. There's no evidence that Barack Obama is Chrislam, and he's not a Muslim. Barack Obama is an American who's a Christian.
So now, so we say he is a black liberation theologist. His pastor, Jeremiah Wright, is a black liberation theologist.
But now that's his pastor. That's not him. Barack Obama. Is everybody in your pastor? Is everybody in your congregation believe everything? Are they apostolic?
Well,
they believe the things that you
some of them are apostolic, some of them are non-denominational.
So then why does Barack have to now suddenly endorse and embrace everything his former limited time pastor says or thinks?
Well, I can't say that he does. Obviously, he distanced himself during the campaign.
But your soundbite said it. Your soundbite suggested it, and you got to stop doing that.
Well, but commentators do that. We do that. I mean, it's what we do.
Conservative ones do that.
And we have to take our conservative disposition to another level. So this is why we instigate these kind of things to provoke thought, to provoke a conversation, to provoke energy and discussion and debate on these kind of things.
Is there any proof that Barack Obama is a Muslim or a Chrislamist? If I can,
I think the proof is his father was a Muslim.
His mother,
I think his pastor, had Christian.
His father. What about Barack Obama?
Well, usually with the
byproduct. Are we going to now say he's also been arrested and a felon like his uncle? I mean,
no,
we're going to put everything on Barack?
We would not put that on the president.
Barack is Barack.
Yeah, well,
he's not his uncle. He's not his uncle. He's not his pastor. He is Barack.
And he is the president of the United States. You're not going to get me on here saying he's not the president of the United States. He's a very good role model as a father, as a dad. His wife, Michelle, is a heartthrob, and she is to be commended for her decorum and the way she conducts herself. The children, Sasha and Malia, they're the most beautiful people on the face of the earth. But their politics, when it comes to Barack Obama's policies and this administration, he's surrounded himself by some of the greatest incompetents on the face of the earth.
I think he didn't know how vitriolic the other side of the aisle was, and I think now that he's got the experience.
We love him.
And
we're simply crossing political swords.
Well, you didn't send the love to Washington because he hasn't received it from conservatives up until now. Now that he's got the experience, and the experience I'm talking about is dealing with the people that oppose him. Now that he's got that, the next 4 years, we're going to show you all.
There will not be another 4 years
Well,
of this.
Another 4
we
years.
will not be a socialist nation.
We will not be raptured.
We will not kowtow to.
And when we do, I'll come right on this show and say to you,
I will invite you back. If you all win, I will invite you back. It will not happen, but you will be able to, at that time, our time is running up. At that time, you will be invited back to host the show, and I will be the guest, and you'll ask all the questions. This is American Conservative Values Network, dedicated and committed to those precepts and principles that have made this nation great. Thank you again for tuning in to myself and Dr. McNeese arguing the partisan issues that face us today on both sides of the aisle. God bless you. Our prayers are that God bless America, God bless the generations to come, and that you be blessed during this holiday season. Have a beautiful season now. Bye.